Bitcoin is a store of value, and there's a big space for a store of value.
Analysts have pointed to the $50,000 mark as a key psychological and resistance level. It is still off the highs, though, of more than 60,000 back in April.
Ethereum is a call option on multiple new industries that haven't yet started.
Ether has a better shot at becoming a real commodity than Bitcoin. He says the Ether is an engine that helps drive blockchain transactions, while Bitcoin is purely speculative and lacks an endgame.
To me, it's not about a question of Bitcoin versus gold, right? To me, it's like Bitcoin versus GameStop or, AMC or, any other meme stop or, to me, that's a speculative asset. Gold is where I put my safe money that I want liquid, that I don't want to lose. I just want to store value.
Peter, that's fine. That's fine, right? Nobody has an argument with that. But Bitcoin and the crypto world is the fastest adoption of any technology in all recorded human history. It's growing at 113% a year. It's 140 million people. There'll be 1 billion users by 2024. You can't say, well, this is all irrelevant. Everybody's being deluded. This is a madness. Only gold is the truth.
No. First of all, it's got nothing to do with gold. It's a speculative asset. So if you're saying, where do I want to put my chips? What speculative assets do I want to gamble on? Personally, I think there's a lot more upside potential relative to the downside risk in other speculative opportunities that I am taking advantage of. I don't believe in Bitcoin. I never have. I don't think it's going to work. And so I can't buy it and put it away because I don't have any faith in it. But there are other speculative assets that I would rather own. But as far as something that's conservative, a store of value, Bitcoin doesn't even qualify as that. It's all hype.
What would you see having a similar risk reward to Bitcoin? So Bitcoin on average, you're going to see a 60% downside and a 213% upside a year, right? That's the risk.
You don't know that. Bitcoin has been around for about a dozen years, right? That is not a long enough time horizon to say that you know anything concrete. And the entire time Bitcoin's been around, we've been in a gigantic bubble.
The same, right?
Huh?
Facebook's been around the same. So's Google.
But Facebook is a company that has revenues and customers. It's got nothing to do with Bitcoin. Bitcoin's just a token. But my point is, Bitcoin's entire life history has been during this gigantic bubble. 0% interest rates, quantitative easing. It hasn't been in a cycle. All kinds of crazy stuff are going up. People are just buying all kinds of nonsense. It's all momentum. It's all hype. You can't draw any conclusions about what Bitcoin is going to do in the future by looking in the rearview mirror for the last dozen years. It's going to have to be around a lot longer than that. And in my opinion, it won't be around a lot longer.
Is the network of Bitcoin itself worthless?
I don't know what the network is worth, right? I don't think the coins have any value or the Bitcoin. I don't know. I don't think Bitcoin itself is worth anywhere near what people are willing to pay for it. And I think history is going to bear me out.
I'm actually long US dollars because I think the dollar's going up because I think the world is actually slowing down again. So I'm long US dollars and long some bonds. And those are the only two other trades I've got in the world. And I've also got some carbon futures in Europe. So those are the only three trades I've got. The carbon futures is a fantastic long-term story that it's driven by the incentive system within the EU to raise the price of carbon. And these futures are directly linked to that. And then I'm long dollars and long some bonds because I think the world slows down a bit. And the rest is pretty much 100% crypto. Ran, this is a really interesting point, right? Because everybody goes to this and says the markets are expensive and therefore there's risk. Play that through right now. If the markets fall 15%, what is the reaction function of central banks? It's currently to print more money. So in which case stocks go back up. We had the largest recession in all recorded history. It lasted 2 months because of the ridiculous amount of monetary printing. So now that both the governments and the central banks know that they have one trick that can basically, in their mind, stop a recession, they will use it all the time. So it's a weird world where buying puts used to be a profitable strategy when you got the timing right, but actually it's buying calls into that actually makes more money. You want to be on the long side and assume that the central bank owns the down 15% and lower put, and it's free for you. So it's kind of skewed how the world works. And I kind of agree with Mooch, is that in the end, growth stocks have proven over time that in lower interest rates and a kind of weird growth environment, they will outperform massively because they're also seeing network effects and the massive rise of technology.
I really believe this, that there's $1 trillion worth of buying if we could provide two things to the institutional buyer. Solve the ESG problem on the mining and award of coins. For example, that's become a big issue. Everybody knows about it. It was Bitcoin 2021. It was a huge deal. And I'll tell you something really funny about that conference that I haven't disclosed to a lot of people. In that audience, because I was, that panel, I was the chair of that panel, and we were talking about how these giant miners are going to solve the problem. I look into the audience with sunglasses on and baseball caps pulled over their faces are all the institutional clients that I service, the big guys. They were there, but they didn't want to be seen there. They didn't want to be known to be there. They're walking around with plastic bags, listening to this stuff because they want to come into that market and they can't do it yet. So we got to solve ESG and we got to solve the compliance platform. Now, there are companies like Circle and like FTX that are starting to build that infrastructure. And when they figure it out, Katie bar the doors, Peter, you're going to be left looking pretty dumb because that asset class will become an institutional asset all around the world.
So Kevin, there's another group called Lukka, L-U-K-K-A. They do, one of the issues is there's no open close, there's no official pricing. All the exchanges have different prices. There's a group called Lukka that's putting that all together to make like the ISM market or S&P Global for the authentic prices for all the accounting firms for audits. So they're scaling super fast right now. So it's all coming. And like you and like Mooch, I spend probably a third of my week or a quarter of my week speaking to sovereign wealth funds, family offices, and global institutions who are all trying to get up the curve on this. I mean, everybody's making the move. It's not going to happen. I mean, literally the whole lot of them are.
Well, look, everybody is not going to do it. Look, throughout my career, I've overestimated the intelligence of institutional investors. So I'm sure that there are some of them dumb enough to bite on this. There's a lot of greed. The market's gone up, especially if they can gamble with other people's money. They might take a shot, and then they can take a percentage of the ups. But I think buying into this because I think there's some greater institutional fool that's going to throw even more money at this if we could just make it easier for them to do it. That's not something that I want to do. I mean, maybe it'll work, maybe it won't. There are other things that I think are going to make a lot of money in this environment that I want to own. This is a historic financial bubble.
If guys like Ray Dalio say they don't like Bitcoin, they do the research, they buy Bitcoin. Guys like Mr. Wonderful say, hey, I don't like Bitcoin. They do the research, they buy Bitcoin. And I can give you a litany of other people. You probably don't think I'm intelligent, which is fine, but I did the research and I got myself long Bitcoin. What is it that all of these people are missing, Peter? What is it all
again?
Missing?
I mean, there are other people, right? Warren Buffett, Nassim Taleb. You just assume that somebody who's an intelligent, successful investor, if they're not investing in Bitcoin, it's because they didn't do the work. Maybe they did the work.
Without question, Ethereum. It's by far and away the network effects are growing faster and deeper than Bitcoin. In fact, twice the speed. So it's growing at a dramatic pace. There are more applications. We've talked about NFTs. We've talked about DeFi. It's all on top of Ethereum. Will that change after 3 years? Possibly. But the network effects, and that's how you value these things, is the number of nodes on the network, the growth of those nodes, and the interconnection of those nodes is growing so much faster than anything else. It's just going to outperform. That doesn't mean I don't like Bitcoin. I don't agree. I agree with the store of value, the pristine collateral. I've made all of these arguments. It's nothing to do with that. I just think Ethereum outperforms, and my money's actually mainly in Ethereum these days.
I must say I agree with you because I think that Bitcoin is a store of value, and there's a big space for a store of value. Ethereum is a call option on multiple new industries that haven't yet started. So the first option that was triggered was one on NFTs. Yeah. The second option was one of what they call decentralized finance. And I think
don't you want my answer?
I'm coming to you.
I think we both own Ethereum in addition to Bitcoin.
I was going to say, I was hoping all you guys were going to go Bitcoin so I could be the contrarian and go Ethereum. But it seems like it's split 50-50. I mean, I guess if I was going to gamble, because it isn't I think you're wrong. Bitcoin is not a store of value, because in order to be a store of value, you first have to start with value, because you can't store something that you don't have. So they're both speculative tokens. And I guess to the extent that they both keep going up for the next few years, probably looking at the charts, Ethereum is going to beat Bitcoin. So if I had to buy
I have to sell
as
my
a
Ethereum
speculative
now.
as a speculative token, but I think I think if they go down, Ethereum's going to go down more, right? So if they crash, Ether will probably crash more too.